a living, walking, breathing example of anti-Trump. That's why he comes down here and talks smack about her. He attacks her because he's scared of her. He attacks her here because he fears women, because he fears immigrants, because he fears refugees, because he fears justice, because he fears truth, because he fears honesty, because he fears good service, because he fears people who stand up for workers and the poor. That's why he does not like her. You can know who a person is by the enemies that they have. And by that chance, Ilhan Omar must be the most prolific fighter for justice in the United States. I'm telling you right now, Ilhan is a worthy candidate for you to get behind. She needs you. Don't think for a minute. She's strong, she's tough, she's smart, she's a great speaker, she got it going on. Ilhan's the bomb. She can do it by herself. Wrong. She cannot do it by herself. She absolutely needs you. So, with no further ado, the person you've all been waiting for, the one who's here to talk to you about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and why we need to do it, my friend and yours, Ilhan Omar. Come on.
Good evening. Hello, Minnesota. How are you? So first, I want to thank Keith Ellison for that wonderful introduction. Keith is not just my predecessor. Keith is someone who really actually creates the definition on what it means to be progressive in these United States of America. Keith has been in the trenches fighting for all of us for so many years, and I am excited to have the opportunity to continue to fill his big shoes and not only call him my Attorney General, but also call him my friend. So please give it up for Keith Ellison. I also want to thank you for showing up tonight. It means a great deal to me to see your beautiful, diverse, vibrant faces. I want to thank our beautiful DJ, Yasmin. To our beautiful singer, Mohammed, and the amazing Somali Museum dance troupe. I also want to thank my children who are here, Isra, Adnan, and Ilwad. I want to thank my family members, my friends, and every single person who is invested in this fight for the America we deserve. So thank you all for being here. When I first ran for Congress, much was made about me being a first. Some people celebrated it, and some not so much. But I am very proud. I'm very proud to have been elected as the first Somali American. I'm very proud to be the first woman of color to represent our state in Congress. I'm very proud to be the first African-born to ever serve in Congress. And I'm very proud to be the first visibly Muslim person to represent us in Congress. But contrary to what you might hear, I'm not running for re-election because I enjoy being first. I'm running for re-election because I understand what it means to get in the ring and fight for everyday people, working class people, poor people, and every single person who lives in the margins of our society. Oftentimes, people will talk about identities. They will use my identities as a weapon against me and those that identify with those identities. But the reality is, I'm not in Congress to defend my identity or our identities. I'm in Congress to defend our ideas and our ideals. Because I'm running to be a voice for the people who don't get an opportunity to sit at those committee rooms, to have the opportunity to be at podiums, the people who don't get to sit at the tables where decisions are being made about them and for them. I am there to speak for the young constituent I have in this room who is shackled with $150,000 student debt, who is not going to have the opportunity to realize his chances of opening up a business, starting a family, going on that vacation, maybe buying a car, having children. I am in Congress to make sure that we are canceling student debt so that he is freed from those shackles. I'm in Congress because of the young girl who is rationing her insulin and who might lose her life because we haven't figured out how to give her access to the medication that she needs. That's who we are fighting for in Congress. I'm in Congress fighting for the mother who works 2 jobs, 3 jobs to put food on the table, while the CEO who owns the company she works for ranks in billions and billions of dollars of profit. I'm in Congress fighting to make sure the little Ilhan, who sits at a refugee camp around the world, who is looking up to the United States, and instead of making sure that we're welcoming her and giving her an opportunity to start anew, that we are closing our doors to her. I'm in Congress fighting for my constituent, Linda Clark, who is a recipient of a temporary protected status from Liberia, who has a life in this country that is not temporary after living in the United States for over a decade. I'm in Congress fighting for the mothers, the fathers, the sisters, and the brothers of our servicemen who lay awake at night, worried when the next deployment will come for their children. I'm in Congress to fight, to give voice to the little kids who are huddled in corners around the world, to the mothers and the fathers, to the disabled, to the elderly, who worry about what an intervention from the United States might mean, whether it would lead to a civil war, whether their country would be in shambles for the next decade or two and wondering why we can't figure out to use many of the tools that we have in our foreign policy toolbox other than endless wars. I'm in Congress fighting for the people who feel oppressed and voiceless in our country and abroad. People oftentimes will say to me, Ilhan, you use rhetoric that I don't appreciate. People will often say to me, you say things that make me uncomfortable. People often will say to me, this is maybe not the style you should use when you interact with members of Congress. Well, many of the rhetoric that has been used by a lot of people makes me uncomfortable. Much of the style that other members of Congress has makes me and the people I represent uncomfortable. And many of the policies that are produced in Washington make all of us uncomfortable. So excuse me if I make you uncomfortable on behalf of my constituents who are tired of being uncomfortable. Because as an immigrant, I realize that there are American values that make this country exceptional. Those are the values of religious freedom, respect for basic human rights, and basic economic rights. And so when I see that these United States of America are not living up to those values, then I don't really care much about your comfort. Because as my colleague and civil rights icon, John Lewis says, when you see something wrong, say something. And I think when we are obstructing people's right to their basic human rights, when we are obstructing people's rights to their religious freedom, when we are obstructing people's rights to freedom of speech, when we are obstructing people's basic rights, then you have to say something. And so in Martin Luther King's last speech, he said, America, all I ask you is to live up to what you say on paper. I have a little twist on that. What I say to America is live up to what you showed on your orientation tapes when I was in that refugee camp coming to the United States. Because the rights that were presented in that orientation tape gave hope and aspiration to that young girl who was watching it. The video of that family of 4 sitting at that dining room table, having plenty to eat, gave that starving refugee girl hope that one day she could have that meal. The beautiful, constructed roads and bridges gave hope to that refugee girl walking on dirt roads that one day she will be able to walk and drive on those beautiful roads and bridges. The nice picketed fenced house with the beautifully mowed lawn gave hope to that young refugee girl about the kind of home that she might have after not having an actual bed or a home for 4 years. And so I know that the reality and the ideal have not matched yet. And I know that too many people are complacent in that. But I am not. I told my dad when we arrived in the United States and I saw homeless people on the sides of the roads in New York, this doesn't look like the America you promised. And my father said, hush, we're going to get to that to our America. So I am in search of that America because I believe, like Martin Luther King believed, that the America that we deserve is one we can achieve when we collectively fight for it. And that America is one where people have true religious liberty, where people are not discriminated because of their ethnicity, because of their race, because of the way that they pray, because of their gender. It is an America where all of us are treated equal. The America that I want to see is one that recognizes the full potential of every single person who lives in it. And an America that welcomes all of us and celebrates our diversity and recognizes its strengths. There is so much to be said about the beautiful diversity of the new Congress. But the real diversity exists in our lived experiences. Because here in America, we have people who are sleeping on the side of the street in this frigid weather. And people who are living in big mansions. Here in America, we have people who might skip a meal and people who have too much. Here in America, we have people who recognize religious liberty as part of discriminating others' religious rights. Here in America, we have people who think that you can decide and make choice for women, what women should do with their own bodies. Here in America, we have young kids in our schools who are not able to eat a meal and who are constantly shamed and harassed because they have a lunch debt. And I believe that it is going to take all of us to make sure that we have homes for all, that we have Medicare for all, that we have universal school meals, that we cut the welfare system to fossil fuel industry, that we fight for a Green New Deal. That is only going to happen if we collectively decide to get in the ring, get comfortable with the punches that we will get, but be ready to throw harder punches on behalf of all of us. And so I know that you send me to Congress with 78% of the votes in November in 2018. And I know that there are people who are chanting, "Send her back." But I believe collectively you are going to send me back to Congress, and I thank you for that. So I said in Minnesota, we don't only welcome refugees, but we send them to Congress. And I know you didn't just send a refugee to Congress. You sent a fighter who was ready to be in that ring and make sure none of you were going to have a punch ever touch you, take all those punches for you, and throw them much harder than anyone could throw them. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for investing in me so that I can invest in you. Thank you.